Hi, I'm Stephen Tallamy. In this video, I want to share some of the production and post-production phase of the independent film I recently scored. To help me do that, I've invited the director of the movie to come and share some of his stories of the production of the film. We'll also talk about the spotting session we used to shape the way the music would convey the emotions of the story. Very, very fortunate to have Wetengere with me today. Just first off, I just wanted to say thank you for bringing me on board onto the project, and also for really allowing me to make these films, because I think it's really interesting to be able to share the whole of the process we went through. And so it's really nice that, I can do that, and you've given me permission to sort of share bits of the film and the music with it. So thanks for doing that. What I wanted to sort of talk about first is actually maybe a bit of your background. So you live in the UK now, but you were born in Tanzania, right? So maybe tell me a little bit about your background.
I grew up in a village. My dad was a doctor and my mom was a primary teacher. So because of that, we were moving different places. But in my childhood, that I can remember when I was little, there was no television at all. Mm-hmm. There was only one radio station, which was owned by states. And only form of movies or moving images that I saw when I was little was the educational films. And these ones were brought by the government, teaching the local or the farmers about how to grow coffee, cotton, and stuff like that. So mm-hmm. That's only what growing up seeing. And then I started to have this little fascination of how do they make it? What is that? Because I remember they were bringing the Land Rovers, these old Land Rovers, and then they'll put the projector on top of Land Rover. And then under the tree, they'll have this big projection sheet we watch, and then they have these megaphones or loudspeakers set around, and then we can hear the sound. There was no 5.1, there was just only 2 channels. Yeah, that's how I grew up seeing the movies. And then there were not every weekend that you have that one. It will be a couple of months, and then they will announce, and then we'll go.
So that, I guess, was what really fueled your interest in filmmaking, was just this wondrous thing that appeared and then disappeared, and you then sort of went on a journey from that to actually start to build up, knowledge in how to make films. So what brought you to the UK?
My friend was going to Farnborough College, which was under Surrey University. And then by this time, I was not really even clear which path I want to take. Is it about TV production or radio production or filmmaking production? So I did everything. So I did the TV and radio production. It's when now I decided that now what I used to see when I was little, I want to go and learn how to do it. That's how I started learning about filmmaking.
So let's talk a bit about Asking God, the film that we've worked together on. When you were coming up with the script and the ideas around Asking God, the storyline, what were some of the inspirations that led you to create that particular story?
I'm always interested in human being life stories. Good stories, bad stories, sad stories, emotion stories. I had an idea of stories some stories that I was told by my friends, like Asking God has some domestic violence, and I hate that. My friend was telling me about her friend, how was treated by her husband with, on a movie that has a scene of gun. Actually, that was actual story. My friend's husband that took the gun and then pointed to her wife. And then I was trying to imagine how could that happen to someone, do that to, his own wife. And then this was the time that here in UK, there was this story that was going on the all news about the young couples that they were struggling of their little one that had a problem and the brain problem, and then it could not survive. So the doctors, after this little one was on life support machine for a long time, doctors were advising that there's no point to continue with that treatment because the little one will not survive. That again touched me so much. You know, myself, I'm a Christian, and then I love stories about Bibles, and then I believe in God. So I try to put all of this because there's a lot of story. Even myself, with the experience that I have as a Christian, some point you go through situation and you question yourself, is really God there? And a lot of people, they've gone through that.
Mm-hmm.
And if God is there, why then human been going through such a crazy situation, such a difficult life? And the Bible says God is love.
Mm-hmm.
But again, when you read the Bible, it says we were given choice.
Yeah.
So we can choose good and bad. And then always will be consequences of that. Because of the choices that we make, we have consequences.
So in some of the previous videos, I've talked about some of the pre-production stuff that that we worked on together. So, you know, coming up with some of the themes for the characters, creating some signature sounds with the alimba and all of these kind of things. So let's talk a bit about the production of the film itself. So, you know, if we pick up from that point, you flew out to Tanzania, I guess it was almost about a year ago now, right? It was sort of end of September 2019. Yes. You already had picked out a cast, you've got a crew all ready to go, and you flew out to Tanzania. And when you got there, things didn't quite turn out as you were hoping. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about what happened when you got to Tanzania.
I knew specific the area that I wanted to shoot is in Mwanza in Tanzania. It's a beautiful city, it has rocks, and I really wanted to go and make a movie there. About 1 week, 1 week before the shooting schedule, one of main character dropped. So we had to find a way how we're gonna do it, how we're gonna replace him. So finally we got someone that we can replace. While I was at Heathrow, I called my friend and I said, so what is happening? I said, you know, he started to tell me about the superstition and all that witchcraft that is happening there. And he told me a lot of story that one of the producers in that place, that city, they believe that he doesn't want his actors to go and work with other people. But he said that I think we're in real trouble here. We're not gonna make this because it's believed that we've been bewitched. So I said, oh, I don't believe on those things. So what I'll do, I'll just go ahead and then make the movie. But he said to me that I don't want to make a movie in this city anymore. He said, I know some people I worked with them before. If you allow me, I will go and do recast again. And then believe me, these are great actors. They'll be fine. I said, really? For 1 week? We don't have no location. We don't have no actors. I've already spent a lot of money for this preparation. He said, okay, trust me. And you'll come and then tell me. I gave him go ahead, and then he went there. He started everything fresh. Traveled to the location, to Ifakara. Mm-hmm. And on Monday, I was there. And then Monday evening, they rehearsed while I was there. I saw everything. We talked with all the actors. And then we said to start filming on Wednesday, because Tuesday we were setting all the equipment and stuff like that. And then one location was in a hospital. They were given permission to shoot in a hospital. We were shooting on Sunday. And later on, there was this gentleman passing, and he said, who is the leader of this group, and what are you doing here? I said, oh, I'm the leader, I'm the director, my name is so-and-so. I introduced myself to him, and he said, okay, who gave you permission? Because somebody called me and said, there's some people here moving and shooting, and they said, you know, this is a hospital. I said, oh, we were given permission. Actually, even we paid for the location. And he said, okay, from now, stop shooting. Everything just stopped. And then I started to be nervous because I know that I've started. And then The hospital location was one of the very important location in the film. He called the person, the guy gave the permission to come in. So he came, and then while I was talking to him, I explained everything. And then he said, okay, now you're okay, you're free, you can go in and continue shooting, but I want you to be careful with, this is hospital. I said, yes, I'm aware of that. We were given about 2 days, but because the hospital scene location had a lot of scenes, and then it is like the one carrying the story. It was such a heavy, load for me to carry within those period of time that they gave us. So we worked, I remember one day, the last day of shooting, we worked for, I think, 15 hours.
Let's have a look at, I've got a few of the production shots here. Let's have a look at some of them.
Yes, this is the house. And then we were given permission. We got this location from one of the friends. The challenge of these kind of locations is you don't have much control of it, because this is someone's house. And then next to it, there was a school. There is a school, so the noises from the school and stuff like that. This is the beginning of the film, and then Rosemary is on the floor. There's been pushed by the husband, and this is the point. This is the scene where the husband is taking the gun out and then point to his wife.
So what's going on here?
I wanted to have a smooth, camera pull back, but I didn't have no dolly. I didn't have any tracking dolly and stuff like that. But next to it, there was a wheelchair. So I said to the cameraman that, what if you sit on a wheelchair and then I'll pull you back so we can have a little bit smooth or different camera movement. And then this is how I use the wheelchair.
Brilliant. I love it. I love the improvisation. It's fantastic.
Yes. And that prison is not is someone's house. It's the building that is in a building process. But what I used there, I went to the shop and bought these pipes, small pipes, the PVC pipes. And then I took to the carpenter guy next there, and then I explained that I want to make this kind of rail, prison rail where you hold it, but there are PVC pipes and the wood. I made it to be like a prison.
Yeah, you did a great job. So what I want to talk about now is, after the production, we had a few cues back and forwards with some of the rough parts of the scenes, and then when you'd done the first edit, we sat down and I came over to your place and we sat down and we did the spotting session. So I'm going to bring up the spotting session notes just so we can remember. I think this first section was really useful. We had quite a long conversation actually about the theme of the movie. What were the general feelings, a sort of a kind of happy ending, but there's a lot of sadness throughout the story.
Actually, this for me, I think, is one of the best things that we did, because me and you sitting together and discuss all of this opened up for me understanding that process of music. And then I wanted you to have the same feeling that I had. You watch the movie, you see that there's no much dialogue, but more reaction and emotions. And that one, I really wanted to be music to be a vehicle carrying that as well, with the performance of the actors. Sitting with you, talking through, discussing, and then look at the whole thing, how it's going to be like. It was absolutely great session that I ever had during this. I think the whole process of making this movie, this was a very productive session.
So we even had some general musical ideas, right? So where, we agreed that there are going to be, there are quite a lot of transition shots throughout the movie where you can see, scenery, outside and so on. We actually sort of made a decision that those would just have atmosphere and there would be no music in those. The music would only be contained within the scenes where you saw the actors. And so there were some really important decisions we made, part of that, which we've got documented here. For me, it was really important because I don't speak Swahili, so I didn't understand all the dialogue, and there were a number of moments where the actors are fantastic. I got so much just from their performance that I could react to, but there were some things where it's like, okay, I know roughly what is happening in the scene from from the bits of the script that was in,
Right.
but also it was really important to kind of make sure I understood the emotion behind the characters. So we can see, you know, here's an example, this domestic abuse scene,
Mm-hmm.
so where the daughter has her headphones on, and we
Right. Yeah.
discussed about, well, how do we want it? How do we want to hear that?
Because this little girl is like, who is going to take me out of this situation? And that's the lyrics of the song plus your score that you put them together. So she put in, we hear what she hears on the headphones. And then when she removes the headphones from her ears, then we hear the soundtrack, the score that you've done, and then you plus the argument of the parents, so you can hear from afar. I think this was absolutely great. You did a great job here, Steve.
Thank you. You know, there's another example here about, you know, the anger that's going on in this scene. And when Moses is riding on the bike, I wanted to know, well, what is he feeling in that moment? Is he happy? Is he just, you know, why are we seeing Moses riding his motorcycle? And it was this sort of anger. So we brought back that anger theme that we created. And then there was some important things here, like, so the no score over the crying, i.e. when she's really crying, we don't want to have a lot of music around it. And there are some others where we just sort of said, there's a scene earlier on in the film where Rosemary is just leaving work, and then the guy comes out, and it was interesting. What we just talked about there was, what's the feeling here? And so you sort of said to me, well, we want a slightly romantic, because the guy is sort of, you know, slightly infatuated with Rosemary. He thinks that she's quite attractive, and so that really influenced the music. It sort of has that slightly romantic feels. As I received some of the scenes, there were some scenes where there was just not, as you said, there's not a lot of dialogue, there's a lot of reaction. As soon as I started writing the music for us, like, oh, thanks for leaving all that space, because actually the music filled those spaces, and it brings the tension, or it brings the emotion into those moments.
That scene, especially the one on the dining table when they were having the meal, I think it went too long, but again, because there was a big reaction at the end when Moses drops the glass on the floor. But at the beginning of it, I was like, is it going to work? Because there is no dialogue at all. And yes, I remember when you were telling me that, I don't know if, because they're becoming like it's too long, there's no dialogue. You did a great job, because when you watch it, you see the staring of Moses to his wife, his wife to the daughter to Moses, and then when she's going to her mother's rosary, which Moses hates, you know, you can see that with the music, how it plays together.
One thing I wanted to ask you before we finish, because I think it's really, it's very exciting for me to work on a film from Tanzania. This story is unique because it has a flavor of Tanzania. It has a flavor of that country. It deals with those issues like the domestic abuse and others that are going on. So I just wondered if you had any kind of, thoughts on what, we should be doing as an industry and filmmaking to help, promote these types of stories.
I remember the time when the incident in America happened with Mr. Floyd. You text me a text, I cannot forget that text. It was, even now when I think about it, I say, wow, this is great. I really appreciate that one. It just gave me another energy to think like, oh, I know there's some people outside there, they really want to see Black people, Black actors, Black directors, writers, they are achieving as our friends, white people does. I think what we need to do and then keep promoting is just keep working. Like me, I wanted to make these movies for about 10 years. I could not make it because of the funding was one of the major issues that I'm facing even right now. I've got another project. So I think if we get the opportunity as our friends does, will be another great vehicle to see the talents, because the talents are there. There's a lot of people who have great talent. So imagine if they get to be exposed, not just to be exposed, get opportunities, given chances to show what they can do. I think together, if we both get the same equal opportunities, we can deliver hugely, and then we can entertain, we can teach. But if I had the support or opportunity that our friends get, I think that burden will be a little bit easier for me, because there's a huge area of working together, and then resources are there.
Fantastic. Excellent. Well, thanks very much for talking today. Really, really a pleasure.
Thank you so much, Stephen. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for everything. Yeah, I think this film is not mine. It's your film as well, because you played a huge role advising me, what if you do this, what you do that. If it was not you being there for advising a part of the music that you did a great job, the film could not come to the point that it is now.
I hope you found the stories and insight from Wetengere as inspiring as I did. I would love to hear your thoughts on the topics we discussed, so please do use the comments section below. How have you approached spotting sessions, and what sort of topics did you discuss? And what are your thoughts for how we can better promote black filmmakers to share their stories? If you've enjoyed this video, then please do give it a thumbs up, share and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.